My fellow majors, it's a great time to be a Menace fan. Overhype has graced us with a slew of fun new updates. We've got patch 6, we've got an early access roadmap, and everyone's favorite action hero Tech can finally be the heavy weapons guy we always wanted him to be. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman, and welcome back to the channel. Hello everyone, if you enjoy what I do, including my ongoing coverage of phenomenal turn-based strategy titles such as Menace, then a like on this video and a subscription to the channel would be very much appreciated. Thank you so much. And also, of course, a huge shout out and thank you to all of my ongoing channel supporters via the YouTube memberships and the Patreon. You'll find all of their names scrolling by at the end of the video. Thank you guys so much. So yes, what is it that we are looking at today? Well, we have a big patch with patch number 6, and of course, a very important early access roadmap that we've all been waiting for with bated breath. We're going to talk about both today, everything that has gone into it, all the major stuff anyway. There's a lot of little minor details. And then if you, of course, want to see these patch notes and the early access roadmap for yourself, I'll have links to both in the description of the video. So first of all, patch number 6, the big one here for the big man. Tech's special perk now allows him to fire tripod-mounted weapons from the hip without deploying them first. This is how everyone always kind of expected Tech to function, right? Except there was that little tooltip that was like, oh, some extremely heavy weapons can't be fired without being set up first. The human body can only handle so much. No. Have you seen the guns on that man? I haven't seen arms that big in a video game since Coltrane himself from the original Gears of War. So this is exactly how it always should have functioned. I love that this is now actually going to allow Tech to fulfill the role that we all want him to have. He is heavy weapons guy. I am going to be giving him the biggest heavy machine gun that I can, and I am going to watch as he laughs and mows through bugs and menace units and pirates and rogue army units and everything else. It's going to be a great time, and I'm glad to see that what is really a cool character concept is finally going to be getting the love that it deserves. The second biggest one, and one that is extremely near and dear to my heart and something I've been banging on about to no end, AI no longer flees from undetected player units. Glory be, hallelujah, and huzzah. I am so sick of trying to carefully push forward into what is going to be an absolutely insane gun line of like tanks and heavy trucks and mortar teams and heavy weapons teams and all sorts of other absolute ridiculous nonsense, only to watch the enemy units just keep backing up all the way to the edge of the map until they get the first strike and absolutely nuke me from orbit. This was such a dumb thing. I'm so glad that the AI is now no longer going to do this. We'll have to see exactly how they do function now. This could be a big shakeup for certain mission types and enemy types, especially the rogue army. But God, this is going to make the game feel so much better. It would get so frustrating when you're walking up on like a group of binocular-clad ATGM teams and watch your vehicles just explode from outside your view range. So annoying. So annoying. There's been a number of quality of life updates, like moving around the HUDs on dice to make them more readable, some tool tips for things. One actually I didn't even realize, there's now a hint in the black market that entire stacks can be moved with shift-click. I've just been spam-clicking this whole time. I don't know why I assumed that shift-click wouldn't work. I just figured that it wouldn't. So nice to know that that is a thing and other people won't be stupid like me. Very good addition. Updated vehicle weapon description text to convey equipment rules, which is something that I was very confused about as well, because I didn't see this described anywhere. Light weapon slot and transport capacity gets disabled when equipping twin weapons, which I knew about the transport capacity. The light weapon slot I was always very confused by, so I'm glad to know that that was a feature, not a bug. And transport capacity gets disabled when equipping heavy weapons, which I think has been stated elsewhere in the game before, but the twin weapons one always confused me. There was then a slew of bug fixes. We'll just go through some of the more important ones here in no particular order. Some medical accessories weren't working. Nitrophenol didn't restore morale, which is, kind of very important for a med that's supposed to restore morale. And then ephenedrine didn't work when positioned in watchtowers, which is interesting. I never actually ran into that one myself. Mines didn't trigger when fast-forwarding movement, which is a nasty one. Ammo crates no longer get consumed when no ammo is restored, also a nasty one. The game would freeze after firing twin-linked versions of the ATGM launcher. That has been fixed. Perks Rally wasn't working on units inside towers and other buildings. That has now been fixed. Apparently, in certain conditions, you could get a bonus turn when you lost the pin down condition. Never seen that one before, but I mean, that's a little bit of a nerf, but if it was unintentional, it's unintentional. And then apparently multiple issues with the dossiers in the black market were fixed. What exactly that means, I don't know. I didn't realize that there were any issues with them to begin with, but hey, better that they're fixed than not. We also have a couple of small balance changes, which are nice here. Increased fire tile damage to units, which is awesome because I do love flamethrowers. I think they can be a very powerful option for a special weapon, but they just weren't doing enough damage after you lit the ground on fire. So now enemy hit percentage has been changed from 50% to 70%. Damage has been buffed from 4 to 8, and armor penetration has been buffed from 5 to 15. So not too shabby. Much better at clearing out chaff now and continuing to deal damage to them as time goes by. Also, the anti-material rifle had its accuracy drop off increased from 3 to 6. So hey, nice. Getting some buffs for some special weapons. We'll have to see how that impacts your desire to use them over massed rifle squads, because I know that's a big thing for a lot of people. I do still like special weapons. I think they do have a place, and this should hopefully help out some of the ones that have good potential, but were a little with any luck anyway. So those are the major notes from the patch, but what about that vaunted roadmap? We'll talk about that next. So, first of all, there is a little dev diary attached to this. I'm going to read it in its entirety because I do think the context here is important. We want to show you what we plan to add during early access. The game will be in early access for about 1 year if everything runs smoothly. Please keep in mind that this roadmap reflects our current direction for early access development, and features, content, systems, and timing may change as development continues. Preparing the game for the 1.0 launch requires adding the following features, but there are a few things to bear in mind here. First of all, we explicitly decided against showing a predetermined order for adding these features. We will go with the flow and repeatedly evaluate which feature makes the most sense to be added next. The problem with rigid roadmaps is that they impose strict boundaries on our development process, and that is not how we want to work. And that is true. You see that in gaming all the time. People expect a thing at a certain time, that deadline doesn't land, then people get upset, and everything has to get shuffled around, so I totally understand where they're coming from with that one. Secondly, this feature list is not complete by any means. There will be constant adjustments and improvements to most game components, even if they are not part of this list. Even though we have taken a lot of care and consideration while putting this list together, game development is not a straight path, so changes can happen at any time in the future. Lastly, they want to mention again that our feedback is very valuable and will help the team to keep steering the development in the right direction, balance the game, and help them determine the priority of certain features. So, a little bit of important context there that explains why the roadmap is set up the way that it is. Now here are the major features that we can continue to look forward to. As you would expect, bug fixes, balance changes, all that type of fun stuff. They are guaranteeing new weapons, items, and enemy variants, which I would expect, and is very good to see that they are confirming that. New operations and missions, which is definitely very much needed if you're going to sink a lot of time into the game. And then UI and AI improvements, which we've already seen a bunch of through patches, and I expect will continue into the far future of the finished release. Now, the major content updates. This is where things start to get very interesting. Squad Leader Reinforcements number 1. New SLs based on story factions in the game. So I'm assuming that's where you're going to be seeing, like Dice of the Gods characters coming in, things like that. That should be very interesting because there's a lot of potential for very unique character types in there. Squad Leader Reinforcements number 2, new squad leaders, including Marine and Wayback-based characters, which is pretty much what we have now, but there's so much room to explore different types of characters. Like, it's already a pretty interesting and diverse cast of personalities that we have in the early access period, and there's so much that they could do with a whole system full of very, disenfranchised Waybackers and scattered Marines. And then Squad Leader Reinforcements 3, new SLs based on additional story factions in the game. So this tells me that we don't even have all of the factions in-game at the moment, which is very interesting. Like, does that mean that we're going to see multiple factions per planet? Does that mean we're going to see new planets added and then get SLs based on those factions? That I'm very, very curious about. That is going to be one to keep your eye on for sure. And then main story expansion 1 and 2. So I'm wondering if these are like locked in. I know they said like this is very much subject to change, but are there going to be 2 major main story expansions, like chapters? Do we have chapter 1 now? Chapter 2 is going to be like once the main fleet arrives and we start interacting more with Admiral Zama, yada, yada, yada. And then Act 3 being whatever happens after that as the war with the Menace threat continues to escalate. Then we get a bunch of redacted stuff in the systems and feature updates section. Redacted Update 1, Redacted Update 2, and Redacted Update 3, adding new large boss unit and new small unit. I'm assuming that they're redacting these for spoilers for the Menace units. If I had to guess, I'm imagining if you were watching an update video for the early access period of the game, then you aren't too worried about hearing about a faction called the Menace in the game. So I'm not going to worry too much about that, but that is very cool to see. Because as it is right now, we have, what, like 4 or 5, I think, units for the Menace, and they have a complete range, I would say, at least enough to be functional in game, but there's definitely so much you can do with what that enemy type is, especially as they're saying here, new large boss units and new small units. That'll be very, very cool, very exciting to see. Then there's going to be an overhaul to the OCI, which I fully expected, and I'm very, very happy to see that they're going to be working on. It works fine, like upgrading your ship is fine, but there's definitely just some features that are far and away better than others, like getting black market upgrades and the like, having your medical bays online. Your deployable stuff other than laser turrets, not really particularly good, especially things like airstrikes that are so delayed and the enemy is aware of them, so they just never land where you want them to. There's a lot that can be done there, and I'm glad to see that they are going to be working on that. And then character interaction updates, which I'm very excited for. One of the best things about the personality of Menace, and one of the things you see memed about a lot, discussed a lot, is how the characters actually interact with each other. The friction between the Waybackers and the Marines, how certain characters obviously know each other, and how as people take damage, get good kills, break morale, etc., other characters that you have deployed on the field will react to that. You know, Griefinger all the time I love, because even though he's like a reformed radical terrorist and he's a former Marine now brought back in, yada yada yada, he clearly really, really cares about everyone on the team. He never wants to see someone getting shot. He hates seeing people pinned down. He's always calling out support to them, like imploring that we as the commander deploy people over there to help them. It's really cool, and it adds a lot of tension and character to what could be fairly straightforward tactical battles. So having more stuff like that added is choice, absolutely, very good flavor. And then world and campaign expansion. Existing planet environment reworks, okay, very interesting. Not entirely sure what that'll mean. If they mean like new biomes or whatnot, that'll be interesting. New planet additions. Oh, I missed this when I looked at this previously. Okay, well, there you go. People were probably typing out. People were already probably typing out like, oh, the additional story factions will be in the game because they are going to be new planets, Tom, you dummy. Well, yes, I am the dummy because I did miss this. New planet additions, new planets with environments with sub-biomes. Okay, very, very cool. That's going to be very exciting. Having a lot more worlds to work with and potentially a lot more choice and tension in terms of what missions you're taking on and how pissed off factions are going to get if you don't get to them in time. That's going to be fun. That's going to be a very good time. And then planet-linked story factions and OCIs. That's also going to be very cool. As it is right now, you have a little bit of interaction between the factions and the planets just in like your post-mission, like choice little story, choose your own adventure sections that you get. So you have a little bit of an understanding of interaction there, but it's very minor. So seeing a greater fleshing out of those interactions and story beats, kind of similar to what we have right now with our SLs when we're on the field, but between these different faction leaders and whatnot, would also be great for flavor, for world building, and help the game feel a lot more fleshed out. Finally, again, they have their disclaimer. This roadmap represents our current direction for early access development. Features, content, and systems may change in scope, sequencing, or implementation. Some items may move, expand, or be revised, and additional work not listed here is also in progress. So that's very exciting as well. Get some surprises down the line. All told, guys, I'm extremely, extremely excited about this. I already have sunk dozens and dozens of hours into Menace, and I will continue to do so as time goes by. Once we start getting these major updates, we'll probably get back to streaming more of it. I'll definitely be continuing to cover it. If you have any particular topics that you'd like to see me discuss for Menace, do please let me know in the comments, and I will see if I can work them into the content schedule. March is an extremely busy month for me, so no major promises, but I'll do what I can. I hope that you all have been enjoying Menace just as much as I have, and I hope that Overhype continues to deliver such phenomenal content over the course of the next year for the early access period. For now, though, I'm going to wrap this one up here. Thank you all so very much for watching. My name has been Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman. Thank you to all of my channel members and patrons and supporters. Again, you can see their names scrolling by on the right side of the screen. This channel would be so much harder to maintain without that constant support, so thank you to all of you. And most importantly of all, I hope that you all have a good night. Stay safe and healthy out there, everybody. And remember, be good to each other, y'all. Bye now.